Hello and welcome. Alan Plum here again with a little more from Shed Engineering. And perhaps you have seen the furnace build so far. Now I'm a total beginner at this, so I'm quite likely to make some blunders along the way. Plus the fact I haven't seen anyone build a furnace in this way or of this design. So it is really quite experimental, and it may turn out to be a complete failure. Just like my idea to put that upstand under the crucible so it was far more stable. In fact, we ended up with no fuel inside the ring and just cold air coming up through the fire grate and cooling the crucible. So to get around that, I'm just going to sit the crucible on the fire bed. But to be honest, it would be nice if we could have something that kept it stable. Now the pastry cutter like fins I put around the crucible are perhaps a very good idea in principle. But remember I said with most furnaces the heat is just going whoosh straight up and out, spending microseconds passing the crucible. Well, them pastry-like cutter fins are hardly doing anything to stop that from happening. So what about this idea? Spiral turbo fins. Surely to goodness something like this is going to be much better. Instead of the heat just rushing straight up and out, it's going to spiral around the crucible. The fins will be absorbing the heat and passing it into the crucible melt. Again, I've not seen anything like this, so this is again totally experimental, and this is how I went about making them. Here I've got the next piece that I'm cutting. It's approximately 2.5mm plate that I've got. As you can see, it's quite substantial plate, say almost 3mm, but obviously you're going to use whatever is available. And I'm just using an ordinary hacksaw, but I don't know whether you can see that. I've actually ground the back of the blade off just by a couple of millimeters. Obviously the thinner it is, the easier it'll go around corners, but the weaker it is. And it was just ground off on a linisher to grind the back of the blade down. So here I've got the piece of plate mounted in the vise, and a good tip when you cut in plate is to put a wedge, just a simple wooden wedge, in the bottom and just knock that in, because your plate will vibrate and it makes a terrible noise. You ought to be wearing ear defenders sometimes, because you can get a very high-pitched noise from the plate vibrating. I then just take a piece of 3x2 or some old timber and place it at the back so that it's not in the way. But I'm going to place it about there so that I can still get the saw blade in, but that will again take the vibration out of this piece of plate. And so if I just G-clamp that on the back, that will intend to, as much as possible anyway, take the vibration out of the plate as I'm cutting it. hopefully there you'll see that I'm actually cutting quite a nice curve. That's the next one cut. Hopefully that's the last. Then I will probably experiment and try it, see whether the idea or new design actually works. So we've now just got to drill that to fasten it onto the previous one, and then obviously bend it to create the spiral. And let's see whether that makes a major improvement. Right, as you can see, we've got the next section bolted on, and we've got the fins wrapping around a good 3/4 of the way up. I'll just check whether that fits inside the furnace liner. And obviously, because this is not welded or anything, then it's adjustable, and I could actually tighten that. But as you can see, I think that's an absolutely perfect fit. You don't want to risk it jamming so that you can't actually get the crucible out. So even though it's a simple design, it allows for the liner to be adjusted, and you've got them close fitting fins which will hopefully capture the heat and make it swirl around the crucible. So first of all, we'll put the fire grate in. Then we'll put the furnace liner in. So that is sitting nicely and not touching any of the furnace walls. Remember, this air gap is acting as the insulation so that the heat is not transferred directly to the furnace wall. A few bits of paper, and then we'll have some kindling, and then a little bit of charcoal in the bottom, and then we'll put some briquettes on as well, and we'll try lighting it through the blowhole with the blow lamp. Right, we've just charged the furnace with some smokeless fuel, and now we'll just drop the crucible down inside. I don't know whether you can see that, but obviously there's a lot of smoke at the moment because I've just charged it, and the smokeless fuel hasn't got quite hot yet, but I think you can see how that's actually swirling around. I'll just turn the airflow up a little bit. And there I've put the lid on, and we'll leave it to warm up. I don't know whether you can just catch at certain times how it's actually spiralling round. It's not coming straight up and out. And in slow motion you can just catch the swirling motion of the hot gases, although with fins like that no one will dispute they are bound to be creating a vortex. Even the topmost fins at the far side are cherry red and capturing heat. The bottom fins must be extremely hot, and you're not getting a blast of flame shooting straight up and out, so surely the idea or concept has got some kind of merit, and in theory surely the fins are going to make it far more efficient and reach temperature a lot quicker. And there we've got molten aluminium. And that's after 13 minutes. The bricks do an amazing job insulation wise. I can bear to put my hands within 2 inches of the flue. We're just coming up to 15 minutes and the whole pot is liquid. Right, we've got a substantial amount of ingots, even though they're not very uniform. But our fins seem to have sustained a little bit of damage. I don't know whether that is when it was actually in the furnace or when I was pouring it. Perhaps I've rested it down, and if the fins were very hot and soft, perhaps I bent it at that point, but we can soon straighten them out. So there we go. There's quite a lot of surface scaling. But I suppose that's only to be expected. Now the crucible's about 5 inches across, and it was approximately 3/4 full. And having nothing to compare it to, if I can get my words out, then I've no idea whether 15 minutes is good going to melt that amount of metal. So I'm a bit unsure whether the turbo fins are actually giving any improvement in the melt time. Mind you, only have my word for it that it took 15 minutes. And that's why I refueled at this point and showed the time on my phone and started to do another melt. But unfortunately, with the strong sunlight, it didn't turn out very good. But I'll show that in my next video. If you subscribe and you want updates when videos are posted, remember you have to click the little cogwheel at the side of the subscribe banner. I hope you found something interesting, and as always, many thanks for watching.